Hey everyone, this is going to be a new series that I'm doing where I'm going to focus on one specific dungeon and how one specific MDI team is really leading the pack or, is just the fastest in that dungeon and really focus on some of the things that they're doing throughout the dungeon run that make them faster, whether it be just routing differences or neat little tech differences that I notice. So for the first episode in this series, we're going to start with Team Echo and their Theater of Pain run. So going into the first MDI Cup, Theater of Pain was in fact a time trial dungeon. So it was no surprise that Echo, of all teams, was pretty well prepared with the strategy. In this map here, between Echo and Does Gargoyle Stream, they won in 1947, so a sub 20-minute Theater of Pain. The other series, the only other series so far in which Theater of Pain was played, was between Team PI Me and Team Does Gargoyle Stream again. And that was won in 21:55, so a full over 2 minutes slower. It was 2:08 slower. But in time trials, Echo was actually a 1923, and they won again in a 1947. So they're even 24 seconds faster in their time trials. So obviously they're well prepared, and it looks like they're one of the best teams in the world at this dungeon. So Theater of Pain, of course, is a Necrolord dungeon. There are 3 banners that when you pick it up for 5 minutes, gives your team 10% move speed and 10% versatility, both of which are fantastic stats for an MDI style speedrun, right? Running faster is great, obviously, and doing 10% more damage is also great. And between Echo and Does Gargoyle Me, that you see on screen right now, Team Echo has a Necrolord. Zalia is playing Necrolord Disc Priest, and Team Does Gargoyle Stream does not have a Necrolord. And they did it the second time that they played this map. And Team PI Me did have a Necrolord, but they had it on their Unholy DK. So, getting into the compositions, though, one of the things that Echo does different from the other team that won the first, or that won Theater of Pain in the first MDI Cup, is they are playing the Night Fae Hunter. I know it doesn't show yet. There's a weird bug with the details on the first time they get into combat. But Fragnance is playing a Night Fae Hunter. So he's playing that AoE-focused Hunter, where on the other side, actually, for Does Gargoyle Stream, you can see they are playing the Kyrian Hunter, which is a little bit more single-target focused, but also just has shorter cooldowns on the Kyrian arrow, right? 1 minute instead of 2 minutes. But the AoE damage from the Hunter is actually a really important part of how Echo does this dungeon. So this first pull here that we see, every team is going to do this. It's a very large pull, right? You're going to pull the 4 trash mobs into the bosses, right? But, oops, my bad. But as we see here, Echo has defeated the boss in 1 minute and 7 seconds. And we can look over on the other side and see Does Gargoyle Stream has quite a bit of health left, 18 and 19% on 2 of the bosses. And we'll switch over to the Does Gargoyle Stream versus PI Me game. And we see at the exact same timer, 1:07, neither team has killed their bosses either. And PI Me, Team PI Me, who actually ends up winning this, is very significantly behind. They're at 33% and 27% on a couple of the bosses and 4% on another one. So if we real quick, though, look at Team PI Me, they have the Necrolord as well. So they've made some sacrifices in their comp, right? Instead of playing the Venthyr Unholy DK, which seemed very popular for the MDI, they're playing the Necrolord. And I know it's a little hard to see because it's a little small, but the damage meters over here on the right for Team PI Me, Dr. J is at 25k, Clicks at 19.6k at 107 into the pull. Mini on that Unholy Death Knight, 16,500, right? So 25, 20 basically, and then 16.5. And we'll go back to Team Echo, and we'll see that the difference between the Hunter on the Night Fae Hunter and the Necrolord on Holy DK is pretty unreal. Fragnant's at over 22,000 damage compared to the 16,500 damage. So that's, already a 6k DPS difference. But of course, Miraz is just sort of a phenomenal player, pulling another 1.5 thousand DPS. So this initial pull here with the 7 targets that they're fighting here is just basically prime target numbers. It's just over the target cap for the Night Fae Hunter, though. But the Wild Spirits Volley combo that we discussed in my MDI compositions prediction video just kind of annihilates this. And the key thing here also is that Echo is cleaving everything down evenly compared to Does Gargoyle Stream and PI Me. Both were focusing a boss down, right? So as you see here, Desi is at 2%, and we go over to this one as well. And PI Me was focusing Passaran, I think is how it's pronounced, and Does Gargoyle Stream was once again focusing down Desia. Instead, Echo is doing an even cleave, which obviously makes their damage a little bit more efficient, and they're able to still survive the pull and get through, sort of no worries, no problems. And it's also worth pointing out that this is with a Necrolord Disc Priest. So the Necrolord Disc Priest ability, Unholy Transfusion, is actually pretty decent in a pull like this. You can mark all of the things, and your DPS can sort of heal themselves. but the Kyrian Disc Priest ability that mode is running is also pretty good damage. So this first boss pull, the AoE of the Night Fae Hunter has really come through though for Echo compared to both Does Gargoyle Stream and Team PI Me. That even cleave damage that they're able to get through is a really big deal. So the main thing, this is the main sticking point though of how Echo is faster in this dungeon than either of these other two teams, and it's where they go after this first boss. So we'll fast forward a little bit, and as we see, Team Echo is going to run over to this, oh shoot, I forget if it's Agony, but it's the area with the liches and where you have to float between the platforms, right? And Zelia, of course, is going to be taking the banner because he is a Necrolord. He'll grab the banner here in a sec. But this is a key point because they run over to this lich area before running to the undead area, the construct area where Gorechop is the final boss. And what we're going to see from Does Gargoyle Stream in the bottom right hand corner is they are going to run to the construct area first, and Team PI Me does this as well. So the first major point is that Echo has a different route than people by a very significant amount. You know, they go to a completely different area of the dungeon first. And the other big thing that they do in this route is that they do this pull with all of these shackled souls on top of I forget what this guy's called, the Portal Guardian, right, who casts this Soul Storm. This is a pull that the other two teams, we can skip over to here, and we can see this is Team Does Gargoyle Stream from their other run, but they do the same thing in the run against Echo now. They are doing this Portal Guardian by itself, right? They are hitting nothing else. So obviously this single target instance, we've talked about this before, but doing pure single target damage is less efficient use of your time than doing AoE damage. And we'll skip ahead a little bit, and we'll see that Team PI Me is going to be doing their small spirits first, and eventually in the small screen they will be shredding off that pride. And now they are once again doing this as a pure single target fight on the Portal Guardian. So that's another big sticking point that Echo makes this pull happen. As a large pull. And if we look at the timer, it's 2:12 into the dungeon, and they pull the first boss at about 10 seconds. So the key thing here is that all the 2-minute CDs are coming back up, right? Power Infusion is back up. They don't track it, but Wild Spirits for the Hunter would also be back up, and I'm assuming he'll have held a volley for this. Zwen is actually held for mirrors, if I remember correctly. He pops on the next platform, but Jinji is, on his combust is back up. So all of the 2 minutes are back up, and they're able to nuke this pull. And this is another area where you can see the Wild Spirits go down there, where the AoE of the Night Fae Hunter saves them a lot of time. Breaking, instead of making this pull take 2 pulls, this is now 1 pull that they are able to pretty impressively burn through. And the other key thing here is that they have not pulled all of these shackled souls. They did invis skip past some, and we'll get back to that in a minute. But they line up their count in a very specific way here on these platforms, as we'll see. So moving forward, they're going to kill this platform, which is not a big deal. We'll fast forward through this. They're going to kill those 2. They're going to move on. Now, the key thing here is that they have lined their count up in a way. They skipped the mobs that were actually skippable in such a way that this pull here that they're going to do with these extra guys on the side, which you shouldn't do in live keys. This is a hard pull to do in live keys. But they're going to line up their count in such a way that Prideful is going to spawn on this platform. And the reason why it's important that it spawns on the large platform where other teams, such as Does Gargoyle Stream here, we see have a Pride on the small platform here, is that that on this platform, you can't really get out of range and Shadow Meld the Pride. So they're forced to play this Prideful, whereas Echo, once they kill this Portal Guardian and spawn this Pride, they're going to be able to run away. Now, of course, on the super mobile Vengeance Demon Hunter is going to be able to pull it away, jump away, Shadow Meld, and go through the portal. So you can't go through those portals in combat. So it's really key that you have the room for the MDI purposes to pull the Pride away from the portal, and you can Shadow Meld off and continue forward without having to deal with that Pride. So that's another key area where they've saved some time in this section of the dungeon, is by proccing a Pride on the large platform as opposed to the small platforms. So we'll move forward. They're going to do another pull here, yada yada. They have this is at 4 minutes again. So this is another big pull where they have their 2 minutes available again, right? We're going to see the Wild Spirits going down again as they pull in these Bone Mages. And again, they're chaining things in, so they're never hitting pure single target, right? This is just super efficient use of time. Echo is just really good with their time, right? They're making sure they're trying to never hit only one thing. So now they're on the they are heading up to the final platform with 3 targets. It's going to switch over to different POV here, so it's a little annoying. But we can see in the bottom screen, they're going to do this. And another key point is that the Pride was once again timed at a very specific point where they're going to hit 40% count when the 2 small mobs die. So now it's 1 large mob and the Pride. And they're going to focus the Pride down and cleave onto I forget what they're called, but I just call them the tornado guys. They threw those tornadoes that you have to dodge or you get knocked off. And we see in the bottom left in the small screen, the Pride is going to die first before the other mob, and they're going to take Prideful into the first boss, into the Lich boss, whose name I actually forget. Koltharok, that's right. So I'm just fast forwarding so you can see this PV. And once again, they skip some of these shackled souls that we see in this walkway, but they have now pulled 3 of them up. I'm assuming through tricksing with the hunter onto the tank, right? So this is another key area that, for example, Team PIME without a hunter cannot do this route, because they don't have tricks to pull the things up. And once again, they're making sure that they do not have, any periods of time where they're hitting just 1 target. They're doing their best to try to make this AoE, really abuse the fact that they are playing, this MM Hunter, the Fire Mage, they're really going for the AoE. So the other key point to note, though, is that traditionally on live servers, I would advocate for people to play single target heavy builds for doing Theater of Pain, especially doing high Theater of Pains. Because one, quite simply, there are 4 single target only bosses, right? Obviously, the first boss is an AoE encounter, but there are 4 single target bosses, which is the same as most other dungeons. As well as in the duelist area, there are 3 pretty big HP, single target mobs that you're generally trying to burn through. So single target is normally how I would advocate to best time keys on the live servers. But Echo is making sure that they have the AoE damage from the hunter, as well as pulling stuff onto the boss here, as we see. But the other key point is that with the Necrolord, they picked up the first banner at 1 minute and 50 seconds. So it's actually going to, in a couple seconds here, right here is when the banner is going to time out at about 37% of the boss's health. And of course, they have Prideful going through most of this boss fight as well, right? So yes, they lack some of the single target damage that even Team Does Gargoyle Stream has with the Kyrian Hunter as opposed to the Night Fae Hunter, but they've lined up their Pride and banners with this boss, so this boss fight is still going to be relatively quick. It is fortified, of course, so it's not the highest health boss in the world, but none of the bosses in Theater of Pain are exactly quick fights. They're all definitely pretty much slogs. So they're going to burn through this, yada yada. They'll get through this fight, no problem. They do the mechanics just fine, and they jump out. So they did a lot of things there in the Lich area that actually saved them a lot of time. First of all, they went to the Lich area first. They did the large pull at the start in 1 pull instead of 2, and they timed their Prides at very good times. And with the banner as well, they're able to burn through a boss despite having pretty heavy AoE composition here. So they're going to do a huge pull here. And this area, the Constructs area, is another area where they save time. They basically do this entire area in 2 pulls. They're going to do this first pull here, right? Burn a lot of cooldowns. Once again, it's at a 2-minute interval into the fight, right? We're at 8 minutes. So the 2 minutes are back available. So it's a little hard to see there. But there's the Wild Spirits going down on top of the shifting power from Gingy. So this pack is going to get burned, pretty fast. I mean, we see Gingy going up over 50,000 DPS, Fire Mage is a balanced spec. No need to tune that at all. Don't worry, Blizzard. Mirrors is going to pop the Tiger in the back half of this pull and really carry them through in the later half. But they nuke this pull, and once again, Xaylia is going to pick up the banner, right? So this is another key thing. They pick up a banner at 8:46-ish is when the banner starts, and they are going to skip past this large mob because it doesn't matter, and they're going to pull this pack here, as well as they're going to jump. They're going to pull this, and then now is going to go and pull the large mob. Oh, no, sorry. I have this totally backwards. They're just going to do this pull, and they're going to spawn their Pride here. And once again, they're going to then switch and target the Pride and cleave off the Pride onto the Butcher here and to the Disease Horrors, right? The couple mobs that are left. So again, they're making this a 3-target section instead of a 1-target section, playing this Pride. And they're going to kill this Pride. And the key thing here is actually that they're killing the Pride, because once again, they are trying to line Pride and a banner up into the boss. So they're going to run in, ring, Shadow Meld inside, not pull all of the mobs on that bridge because they're horrible. And once they're inside, they're just going to top off. And then now they're going to pull the couple mobs that sit right outside this door. So once again, making this a 3-target encounter instead of a 1-target encounter. And they're going to pull. And now, again, they have less single target damage, but they have Pride buff and they have a banner still. So they still have 10% verse, that 30% damage buff. And they're going to be able to burn through this very quickly. We'll skip ahead a little bit. This fight's not super interesting. And let's see. So about 11:41-ish, they're going to have completed 2 of the 3 wings of this dungeon. And we can look now at Does Gargoyle Stream. They have 1 death, sure. But we can see they are still flying. They are still going. They have this platform and then the boss. So they are significantly behind at this point. And as well as in here, when they complete the second section of the dungeon, they're both on Kolth Rock now at over 13.5 minutes. And we see Echo has completed 2 sections of the dungeon, right? The same 2 sections of the dungeon at 11:47 compared to over 13.5 minutes. So Echo is like still blazing fast at this point in the dungeon. We will skip ahead. They're going to do this pull, which again, I would never advocate for live keys unless you're doing extremely high keys and you need the time save. These 3 mobs on top of the mini boss. They're going to kill this. And this is actually an interesting point that I'm not quite sure if I have it right, but I believe Xaylia does not grab this 3rd banner in the back here in this run. I'm not sure if that's on accident because I can't really think of a reason to not grab the banner if you are playing Necrolord. I'm going to skip back real quick because there's something else I want to talk about, but we'll watch this through, and I'm fairly certain Xaylia does not grab that banner. But we can see Fragments is up here. He's coming back. So Fragments, what he's done is run forward into the second mini-boss room, and he has started the RP there because, of course, when you walk down into those rooms for the first time, the 2 options for the mini-bosses are fighting each other, and one will kill the other, and then, you kind of kill the one that's there, but there's a little bit of animations that have to kind of roll through. So it's a really small thing, but Fragments doing this saves them a few seconds, and, a few seconds counts. But we will speed through this. They're going to, keep doing this pack. Again, notice that they're not focusing too heavily on AoE. They're cleaving fairly evenly, right? This mobs with much less health are dying well past 50% health left on the big mob because, it's just more efficient use of their damage, right? They're just burning through it. So they have used cooldowns on this because, there's a lot going on. These mobs are no joke, actually. They're going to leave a Prideful there. That Prideful is very important. We'll get back to that in a second. And they're going to run forward and Shadow Meld. And as you can see, Xaylia has not grabbed the banner, which is like over to the right side of the screen at the moment. He has not grabbed the 3rd Necrolord banner, which again, I am not sure if that is a mistake or not. So they're going to pull the mini boss here. Xaylia is going to drink. Gingy is going to farm up Combust again. And once they have their cooldowns available, so we see Combust is back available for Gingy up at the top. Xaylia's got a small drink off. They're going to wait for, I believe, this next charge, if I remember correctly. They're going to wait for this charge so they know the boss isn't going to jump them in a sec. And, maybe they wait a little bit longer than that. Maybe they wait another charge. Oh, no, here we go. Yeah, so Mirrors, we see, has walked forward. He is taunted. Mirrors, because, of course, he's playing a Monk. Monk has a tank spec. So even on DPS spec, he has a taunt. He is going to taunt this Captain out of the pack. And he is going to paralyze it in the back. It's kind of hard to see, but that little pinkish animation there is paralyzed. And then they're going to pull the mini-boss onto these 4 skeleton guys. So the reason they do this, of course, is this mob has the captain has an aura that like makes all of his allies, I believe it's do more damage, if I remember correctly. I don't believe he has a less damage taken aura. I believe it's a do more damage aura. And the mini bosses will actually probably kill you, especially on Fortified in that aura. So they pull him out and they sort of ignore him. When they shadow meld their 100% pride in like 30-40 seconds here, they will drop combat with him and he won't be a problem. He'll stay on the bridge, everything will be fine. So they're going to finish this pull though, and they're going to kill this mini boss. They don't want to have 2 mini bosses at once. And Mirrors, as we see here, will run back. He's going to roll back there and he's going to paralyze the mob again, give them another minute to just deal with this, right? So anyways, they're going to kill this guy. They're going to spawn their last They're going to spawn their last pride. They're all going to run away, shadow meld it off because they decide that the pride is not worth it for a fortified boss, which is probably correct. It's probably not worth your time there. And they're going to do this boss. This boss, again, pretty simple. Nothing. They don't do anything too fancy here. There's not a whole lot you can do here. But the last key point where they save time in this dungeon is, well, first of all, they're not lusting here. This is not a good boss to lust because you generally don't get full uptime on lust on all of your players because you have DPS down here doing this sort of stuff, you know. So they're going to finish this boss and they're going to run out and now pull this pride. And I already talked about this in my previous video about prideful timings in the MDI. But if you don't know, Theater of Pain, last boss, when you click on the portal to fly up to her and then waiting for her RP to finish is 40 seconds long. And that is a very long time of just doing nothing. So Fragnance on the Hunter has once again, he's doing the utility thing. He has run forward, clicked on the portal, and he is flying up to start the RP on the boss. Meanwhile, his team is 4-manning the Pride, which is impressive by itself. 4-manning a plus 18 Pride when your healer started on 1/3 mana and everyone was half HP from the boss is definitely no joke. So Fragnance just jump back down because once you fly up, the floor is still open for a bit and you can jump back down. And so he's here to help them finish off this pride. And then now, instead of the lengthy flight animation, when they're going back up, they will click the portal and they will instantly appear at the top. And the boss is, instead of waiting 15 seconds for the boss to be active, the boss is active in, you know, a couple of seconds here. And now with Pride and Lust, they're able to nuke this boss. I mean, nuke this boss. This boss was pulled, you know, just a few seconds ago, and we skip. And this boss basically ends up being a like 47-second fight for them. And this boss isn't too scary for a Vengeance Demon Hunter because you can always have mitigation for the Reaping Scythe, and for, you know, players of this caliber, they're not going to get hit by the charge and stuff. But they're able to nuke this boss incredibly quickly, and as we see, finish in a blistering fast time of 1947, which is actually faster. It's a faster time than it took me to talk about their dungeon run. So, Echo's Theater of Pain is fantastic. They were the fastest team in Theater of Pain in time trials, and based off the single run that we saw them do actually live in the MDI, it's pretty clear. They have a very different route than people. They line their prides up at very intelligent times, and they use pridefuls and the end of the video. They use pridefuls and the Necrolord banners in this dungeon to help carry them through some of the single target damage checks, and they instead play a more AoE focused composition with the Night Fae Hunter, who of course allows them to also do some of the kind of tricky stuff that they do with, you know, pulling bosses up onto Koltharok, or not pulling bosses, pulling mobs up onto Koltharok, and just more importantly lets them break these AoE pulls, you know, down really easy and just do some really scary stuff that I would never advocate you do. Just do it live, you know. All right, thank you guys so much. I apologize if there was a little bit of background noise. It is torrentially pouring rain, and there's not much I can do about the rain, but I try to fiddle with my mic settings best as I can to cut out as much background noise as I can. It is a new mic, and it's a new mic setup for me. I like just moved to like finally like a proper I forget what it's called now, XLR cable mic, and I'm definitely learning how this all works. So let me know if the audio levels are okay. I know I got some comments about it earlier that they were a little bit off. So hopefully I have that all fixed up. So I will see you guys in the next one, where we're going to be taking a look at Perplexed Spires of Ascension. All right. See you guys.